Hey everyone, this is Andrew at Plainview Farm, and today we're going to do some cleanup in the pasture. Let me show you what I mean. If you look out here, you can see that over the last few days after work, I have spent my time treating my tractor like it was a bulldozer. Now what I use to clear the trees is a Tomahawk stump bucket. I made a video earlier in the year, and I'll be sure to post a link to that in the description below, where you can see exactly how I do that. Those teeth on the front are used to dig down into the soil and break the roots or cut the roots or even pull them up out of the ground, which that's honestly the way I prefer to do it, is to pull them up out of the ground. But like I said, I'll post a link to that in the description below. So when I'm piling brush, my preferred tool of the trade, if you will, is the Pallet Forks on the front of the Coyote. The reason I like the Pallet Forks is because, well, frankly, I have them and they work a whole lot better than a bucket. So after piling up all the brush, I ended up with a pile there, 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 and there. I'm also going to have to come back through with the tractor and smooth out these holes that are in the ground left by that stump bucket. And if you look out here across the field, you can see about how many of them there are that I'm going to have to smooth over. So the process of cleaning up the trees that were in the 14 or 15 acre pasture here behind me took about 3 or 4 days, mostly working in the evenings after work. And I'll mention that most of the trees were eastern red cedars and Bradford pear trees, with the occasional, I guess the Osage orange or hedge apple trees. Either way, that's primarily what the trees were. And they came up out of the ground really well. Now, one of the things I did mention in that other video as well is that I will have some of those Bradford pear trees sprout back up, probably here or there. But for the most part, the way that I do this, by pulling them up by the roots, I won't have that problem. I'm usually able to get the biggest part of the root system, at least the root system that will sprout regrowth, back out of the ground. I also mentioned in a previous video that the most important part of pasture management or grazing management is actually having a grazing plan. And by cleaning off these trees, I'm able to get farther down the road in implementing what my overall plan is for this pasture. Right now, the cows have pretty much been left to it, and continuous grazing is probably the least desirable or the least efficient way to utilize the pasture that I have. And in the past, what I would have done is use polywire and reels to subdivide this pasture and to cut it up. But the plan going forward, at least over the next month or so, is to begin dividing this pasture into what I would call maybe semi-permanent paddocks. And I say semi-permanent because I'm not going to set some large corner posts or anything like that. It's all going to be easy to use, lightweight material. A fence that is going to be easy to put up and easy to take down if the need should arise. The idea is to lay out a central alleyway or a lane that the cattle can utilize to access paddocks, maybe one here, one here, one here, here. There are 2 ponds on this property, one back here in what would be the southwest corner, and one over there, what would be the northeast corner. The idea is to utilize those ponds to give the cattle drinking water without having to dig a bunch of trenches to pipe it in, or at the very worst, haul it. I hate hauling water. Of course, with the grazing system that I'm planning to implement here, there are some advantages as well as some disadvantages, just as you'll find in anything you try to do in life. Naturally, having some fences out here that are, as I said before, semi-permanent, there will be some limitations in what I can do as far as how I utilize the space and maybe even the movement that I have with the cattle. As you can see right now, I can drive the tractor anywhere I want out here with any implement attached to it, not have to worry about where I'm going, opening gates or those kinds of things. So whenever it comes to future applications of lime, fertilizers, I will have to take that into account. However, in my opinion, it's really not that big of a deal. I'm not all that worried about having to open gates and drive around fences. It doesn't bother me that bad. But what this type of system does for me is it allows me to focus my grazing without having to worry so much about setting up and taking down temporary polywire fences and reels. Now, I'm not going to completely eliminate the use of polywire on reels, because I will, of course, at times split these pastures. But doing this will allow me to cut down on how much I have to set up and take down. And for someone like me who does work a regular job during the week, it allows me to be a little bit more efficient with my time and also gain the efficiency in the usage of my pasture and forage for the cattle. So I obviously have some big plans for the future, so please be sure to stay tuned and watch for those videos coming out where I start to set up this grazing system. I'll try to do my best to explain it in as great a detail as I can. And of course, I am going to be using high tensile electric. There will be no barbed wire here. So as always, I appreciate y'all watching. We'll see you next time.